viewers and those who are here with us today. It's a pleasure. We are continuing with the NDA convention, and I'm glad that we've been learning a lot regarding health throughout the convention and also in other subjects that we've been studying. This evening we are back again with another study about God and our health. And like the introduction that has been done, I am Joshua Amenya, and I am taking you through health and our God. I want us to get just to a word of prayer before we begin our session for this evening. Let's bow and pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you very much for the privilege of being in your presence. We thank you for the word of life, wherewith which, when we believe, we are saved. As we have this session this evening, may I be a mouthpiece, a vessel in the hand of a mighty God. For this we ask in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen. So we've been learning about the principles of optimal health. To be more precise, we've been talking about the lifestyle patterns that, according to research and even the Bible and history, have been either contributing to illnesses or longevity of life and improved quality of life. And we were able to categorize that of all the researches done, we can summarize them into what we term as the 8 laws of health. And we saw that they determine and contribute to the leading causes of death in the world today. And for the first few days, I have narrowed down on demystifying nutrition. And we have talked to a large degree about protein. Yesterday we talked about carbohydrates and fiber. And today I just want to introduce one more major element. You know, we had listed nutrition is composed of protein, it is composed of carbohydrates, it is composed of fats and lipids, it is composed of water, it is composed of vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Today, I want to talk about water. And the reason why I'm talking about water is that the modern age, we are having so many illnesses because men and women do not know the significant importance of water. And most of the time, we seek to other sources to quench our thirst that could be more harmful than beneficial to us. So today, I want us just to have a discussion about water. And somebody may say that would be a very simple subject. Why would we have an entire session given to water? The reason why we are having this session is I want to demystify perceptions and long-held opinions regarding drinks and beverages that people have and take today in their homes, they take in dispensers in their office, they take during the breaks at work in different institutions. And we want to see how these things are impacting illness and disease in the modern world today. Now, just to begin, the Bible indicates to us that when God created the world, before the existence of man, he ensured that there was water. In fact, if you read the book of Genesis chapter 2, verses 10, we are clearly shown that there was a river that passed through the Garden of Eden. And this river was divided into 4 heads. This river was watering the garden, and it provided the nourishment that Adam and Eve required, and also for other needs that they have. If you read Genesis 2, verse 10, we are told, "And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pison, that is it which confesseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold." So when we meet God in Genesis, we meet God talking about nutrition, but at the same time, water was available in the Garden of Eden because water has both internal needs or usefulness and also external needs to the body. Water is something that is so important that whichever place you live, try surviving a day without water in your tap, or water in your environment, or water in inside maybe your water dispenser for drinking, you will realize how water is important when you don't have it. Because water generally is very important for both our body's internal needs and at the same time for our body's external needs and generally for human existence. And I am not surprised that Jesus calls himself the one who has water that which we drink, we can never thirst again. Ideally, most of us tend to think that water is needed presumably because of thirst. I want to just discuss a few things about water that I think will aid and help us in understanding the importance of water today. I want to begin by saying that 85% of our brain is actually composed of water, meaning to a large degree, the welfare and the well-being of our brain depends on the amount of water that we take or that we have within our body. About 60 to 70% of the human body is composed of water. Water is so important because water aids in dealing with the vital functions of the body. And if I list down some of the key and essential uses of water in the body, is that water is essential for circulation of blood. If you didn't know, 90% of your blood is water. By the way, plasma is a major composition of the blood. We have the blood proteins that are also found in the blood. We have other nutrients and other things composed in the blood. But at the end of the day, 90% of the blood is made of plasma, and that is water. It is the one that carries oxygen. It is the one that carries the cells of the immune system, including the red blood cells, and it removes waste products from the kidneys, the lungs, and the skin, while at the same time, it is the same blood plasma, the water, that carries the immune system, the antibodies, and other immune cells that are able to actually fight infections and fight disease in the body. So water is essential for the circulation of blood. In fact, what I can say to a large degree, people who are dehydrated most of the time have a challenge in efficient transportation of blood or movement of blood in circulation. And that is why, to a large degree, we have come to believe that intake of water contributes to whether we have heart diseases or not. Because water, in one way or another, can take care of hypertension. It can ensure efficient blood flow in the body because water is very important for circulation of blood. The second thing that we need to understand is water keeps the body temperature within a normal range. You know, we are, in medical science, we say the body operates under a state of homeostasis. Homeostasis means that we have given ranges of temperature, mineral content, and value within which the body needs to be able to operate. And to ensure that we are within the right temperature of the normal range, the body uses water through evaporation and perspiration. When we sweat, there is a cooling effect that gets into the body. So water can be very essential and useful in cooling the body and enabling us to actually have a regulated temperature. Number 3 is that water is the one that produces fluid that constantly is useful in moisturizing our eyes. We need to realize that we are capable of crying and producing tears because of water. When we are dehydrated, to a large degree, dehydration is connected to illnesses relating to the eye, ranging from macular degeneration to other complications that people have that pertain to their eyes, because the eye is majorly composed of water. The tear ducts use water when we are crying. And because of that, the adequate functioning of the eye is also dependent on water. Water is also very important in lubricating and cushioning the bones and the joints. I have always met a lot of people who are having arthritis, and I told them that if you just drink more water, your joints will be more lubricated. The synovial fluid that is normally found within the joint requires adequate amount of water to assure more lubrication. And the lubrication is also very important, not just to the bones and the joints, but water is also important in lubricating the digestive system, meaning to a large degree it cushions the abrasive nature of food. You know, food is composed of enzymes and nutrients and acids and so many other things, and it moves and travels from your mouth all the way to the time when you go for a long call or a boil movement. You need water in your digestive system to aid you in lubrication, to allow the smooth passage of food. And water is not just important to that also, but water is necessary for the production of saliva and digestive juices, meaning for us to have adequate amount of saliva, that we don't have a dry mouth, we need adequate intake of water to ensure that we can produce enough saliva. Remember, saliva is also very crucial for digestion, because digestion does not begin in the stomach. Digestion begins in the mouth. We need adequate saliva to be able to mix with food so that it is broken down properly. And remember, there are some enzymes that begin their work in the mouth. Most of the time, I have met people who have challenges of acid reflux. They have challenges of indigestion of food because they don't chew properly and they do not mix their food with saliva. And sometimes it could be because they lack saliva. I have, at one point, I remember there was a child who was diagnosed of being incapable of digesting protein. Another doctor diagnosed the child to be having IBS. IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. It is a condition whereby which the stomach of an individual is inflamed, thus interfering with absorption and assimilation of food, and sometimes even digestion itself. What I shared with that individual is that if the child had a problem chewing food, the problem with that child is that if you gave that child food, he would chew 3 or 4 times and swallow. So most of the time, the food the child was eating did not go through the mastication and mixing with saliva that was necessary. I told the parent, why don't you chew for your child the food? So the parent would chew the food for the child and then put the food in the child's mouth, then the child would swallow, and that took care of the problem because that child was just 2 to 3 years old. I think the child was about 3 years old. Generally, we find that saliva is dependent on the amount of water that we take, and it's very important that we realize there's a correlation in how much saliva we produce and even the digestive juices and the water we take. Water also relieves both physical and mental fatigue, meaning most of the time at the end of the day when we come from work and we are going back to our homes, do you know that if you drank more water during the day, you would feel more mentally upright and strong and sober? But if you took less water, you will feel fatigued right from the morning, and most of the time we dread any kind of work that requires mental work because we are dehydrated. Like I said, 85% of your brain is water, meaning the neurons in the brain, the memory places in the brain depend on water for adequate function. So that is very important that we realize that a glass of water every hour will relieve headache. I have always met patients who come to me and usually they have a challenge of migraines. Migraines are persistent headaches that are continuously presented in a patient for a duration of time that could be due to underlying factors. Some people have migraines because of skipping meals. You can develop migraines when you are low in sugar. So if you are a person who skips meals, you can actually develop migraines because your brain feeds on glucose available in the blood. When it can't find that glucose in the blood, then the subtle effect of it all is that you're going to develop a complication, and that complication would be something to do with migraines. The second cause of migraines could be anemia, low blood. but the major cause of migraines or headaches among people usually is dehydration. Chronic dehydration can create chronic headache, which we particularly term as migraines. So people who take water regularly, you'll find those complications in the head would disappear. And by the way, we use water on epileptic patients. We tell them to take a lot of water because it can reduce the frequency of seizures and epileptic attacks. Even those ones with mental illnesses, to induce calm and rest instead of restlessness and violence. You'll find intake of water, as much as it seems very small and insignificant, has a key load in taking care of our brain. So that just tells you how important water is to the body. Water is so crucial also in metabolic activities, chemical reactions that take place in the system. All these things are dependent on water, and that is the reason why God created water before creating man. And we need to realize that we don't need to be thirsty to take water. The intake of water is supposed to be merely out of duty, the same way we eat, because when we wait for thirst is actually a pathological symptom that already you are dehydrated. So many of us, by the time we are waiting to feel thirsty so that we can take water, we are waiting for the body to send a warning, a pathological warning that there is already a problem in the system because you have not taken adequate amount of water. And I would want us to understand that if we took all the water we needed by mouth, we would actually be taking approximately 40,000 glasses of water every day. What I mean is that the body has its own ways of conserving water. And that is the reason why most of us can go without taking water and we don't die. If the body was not good at conserving water, we would need to take about 40,000 glasses of water. That is according to research. So ideally, God has made it possible for us, I can say fortunately, that the body can conserve water. And that is the reason why, to a large degree, we are able to adapt. But I want us to understand that we also lose water. So whether we take in water into the body or we don't take water into the body, we lose water. And that is the challenge that comes about. And I want to share with us that a normal adult loses about 10 glasses of water every day. So that poses a problem. If you are losing about 10 glasses of water every day and you barely take water, how will the lack of water and the loss of water in your body impact your health? I want to be sure we understand that we actually lose about 5.5 glasses of water through the urine. A normal person will pass about 5.5 glasses of water through the urine. So ideally in a day, 5.5 glasses of water goes out when you go for a short call. The second place you lose water is through the lungs. 2 glasses of water are lost through our breath. If we are talking the way I'm talking to you right now, through my breath, I am losing water, and in a day, I am bound to lose about 2 glasses of water. We lose about 2 glasses of water through perspiration, through the skin. Meaning in a day, by the time I've sweat the whole day, I lose about 2 glasses of water through sweating. And then the GIT tract, the gut, we lose about a half a glass of water through the stool. Meaning when you go for a long call or a bowel movement, you are losing about a half a glass of water. If we put them all together, they make up 10 glasses. So ideally, people do not take in water, but they are losing water. And that is why we need to realize there are studies that have come across that have amazed me. There are physicians and researchers who have come to a conclusion that majority of illnesses in the world are associated to a large degree with dehydration. Dehydration may not be the critical foundation of the illness, but dehydration has to, in a degree, a connection to every illness. Because water is so important to the body that at the end of the day, a lack of it will generally impair every metabolic activity and process within the body. And that is how we came to the conclusion that a normal adult needs about 8 to 14 glasses of water every day. The idea is to replace what you had lost, you lose every day, and to ensure the body can have enough to take care of the varied needs. But remember that our intake of water is also impacted by other factors. There are certain circumstances that when you are exposed to, you may need to take more water. And before I talk about those factors, by the way, drinking water adequately does not mean waking up in the morning and taking 3 liters of water. Water should be taken continuously through the day. And that is why we've come up with a routine that is best for the intake of water, is that water should be taken 2 glasses before breakfast, 2 glasses after breakfast before lunch, 2 glasses between lunch and evening, and 2 glasses probably in the evening. So that could be about 8, but you can increase the number depending on the need. You can make them 3 glasses each. When you take water continuously within those breaks, then the body does not have a load of water that it needs to remove instantly. Most people, when they take water in one sitting in large quantities, the body will receive a signal of excess. And most of the time, you'll spend the remaining 1 hour or 2 hours passing out all that water. Meaning you look for the nearest washroom or restroom and constantly visit it. For the water to be useful in the body, you need to take the water persistently, continuously through the day within given gaps. That is the best way of taking water. And remember that the intake of water in an individual's body is dependent on accommodative properties that the body registers. By the way, our system is very keen on learning. The body can operate like a cactus. When you barely take water, your system will understand that there is a drought, just like a cactus plant. A cactus plant is adapted to deal with drought. Your body will limit the amount of water spent on your kidneys, the amount of water spent on your heart, the amount of water used in digestion, the amount of water used in other organs and metabolic processes. By limiting the amount of water used in these places to accommodate the fact that you barely take water, then it means the optimal functioning of the body will be decreased over time and illness will set in. So do not boast about not taking water. I have met people who boast and say, you know, I barely take water and I am okay. You are simply okay because your body is smart. It has been able to accommodate your lack of intake of water by adapting the use of water in different areas of your body. But at the end of the day, by denying the body adequate amount of water for use, you are making progress towards chronic diseases. From eye problems, kidney problems. By the way, a kidney that is not running on water is like a motor that is operating without oil. The kidneys need constant lubrication. They need water to be able to process the wastes that come out through the urine. You need water for your eye. You need water for your tissue. You need water for lubrication. Intake of water will take care of constipation. A lot of people who are constipated, they are not just taking food without fiber, but they are also dehydrated. Dehydration will contribute to a large degree to that problem. So the intake of water in the body can increase depending on several factors. And one key factor that I'll talk about is if someone has a high fever. When you're having a high fever, then it shows that you are losing more water through perspiration because you're sweating. Your intake of water during a period when you have an infection or a fever should be more elevated than the time when you don't have that fever. Those ones who are actually participating in hard work that tends to sweating, meaning you're sweating through the work all through the day, you need to take more water than the average person. If you are vomiting or you have diarrhea, you need to understand that your intake of water should go higher to supplement or to compensate the amount of water that you've lost during vomiting and diarrhea. Women who are nursing mothers need to know that as a nursing mother, you may need to increase your intake of water because water is correlated with breast milk production. And maybe I can make this clear. The amount of milk you produce is not dependent on how large the breast is. Usually it's dependent on the intake of water. It is also dependent on the psychological effect of the mother and the child. If there is some stress in the mother's mind, it can impact milk production. Another thing impacting milk production is an impoverished diet. I have seen women who are expectant, then they have their kids, and then they are breastfeeding and they're eating junk. They are breastfeeding and they're avoiding vegetables. They are breastfeeding and they are avoiding water. They are taking sodas and drinking these energy drinks. At the end of the day, you will lack milk. Generally, milk production can be improved by increasing the intake of water, and that will contribute to milk production. Those ones who are taking high protein foods should also take more water. Meaning if you're eating food very high in protein, like those who take animal protein. I talked about protein the other 2 days, of course, to help us understand a few things, but if you're taking a high animal protein, you need more water. Another group that need more water are those ones who are taking food that is high in wheat. Wheat, to a large degree, also requires a lot of water, especially if they are taking wheat that is refined. More water may be needed to be able to process all that wheat. So like we've said, you need to take 2 glasses of water upon rising, 2 glasses mid-morning, 2 glasses mid-afternoon, and 2 glasses before bedtime, or you can take more, but ensure at the end of the day you take enough water to keep your urine pale. The best way of knowing that you have taken adequate amount of water is that you need to have your urine pale. That can be a good way. And people who've taken sufficient water should be able to visit the washroom about 7 to 11 times a day. Meaning if we are doing below 7, then we must really assess how much water we do what? How much water we take. There is a contribution towards that. So all organs and body functions require water. We require water for breathing, we have said. We require water for digestion. We require water for elimination, meaning the passing of stool, sweat, other things. We require water for hormone secretion. The hormones we secrete all over the body depend on water. We require water for temperature regulation. We require water for lubrication of muscles, bones, and tendons. Arthritis can be to a large degree alleviated by a large intake of water. And we require water for the protection from injury by cushioning tissues. Those ones who are in sports, competitive sports, and those ones who use a lot of muscles and they do work that requires hard implication on their bones, taking water will cushion you from the wear and tear that comes with that kind of labor. Water is not just to be used internally only, but the use of water can also be done externally. Water is very good for cleaning the body. We are supposed to take a bath every day, and cleansing the skin will help remove the impurities that are present on the skin. Very important to have a bath. Children should be given a regular bath, and if possible, it is good to take a bath before going to bed, just as it is good to take a bath in the morning. When you sleep with all the dirt that you came with from whichever place you are working through the day, those dirts are reabsorbed. The dirt is reabsorbed into the body through the night. It is good that we have a bath in the night and also in the morning, if possible, before you get to work. I know people would be objecting on taking a bath twice a day, but according to health, it's much better, so that at the end of the day, your skin is able to remove all the wastes. The impurities can be taken away. Water also, a bath is very important for improving circulation, especially a cold bath. A bath is good for invigorating the body. A bath can increase muscle flexibility. A bath will help the digestive organs, the liver and the bowels. And a bath will also increase the ability of the lungs to be able to operate. And a cold bath is always better than a warm bath, than a hot bath. But generally, it's best to take a cool or a tepid bath. Those ones are the best for ensuring that we are well. Remember, water is also important for cleaning our houses and our premises. Now, as we talk about water, I want to make sure that I don't leave us unattended on the fact that many people think water has a substitute. I want to begin by saying water has no what? Substitute. In whatever things we are taking or eating, do not say that because I'm taking this and this, I don't need water. And that brings me to the mind of assessing and understanding. What about stimulants? You know, in the world today, I am assuming that 70% of Kenyans take stimulants. But what are stimulants? Stimulants are substances or beverages or food substances that are high in some things we call methylxanthines. Methylxanthines are high in something we call theophylline. These are things that have a stimulating effect on the nervous system. And normally you will find this category of stimulants are found in tea, they are found in coffee, they are found in chocolate, they are found in cocoa, they are found in colas, and they are found in what we call energy drinks. Now, my question today is, can soda or an energy drink, give me examples of energy drinks that you know? Red Bull gives you wings to fly. Monster, Predator, Energizer. There are so many energy drinks that are present in the world today. And I think those ones who work overtime usually spend most of their time using these energy drinks. Now we need to realize that as we are talking about the uses of water, which I have captured, and how important water is and how to even take water, do not think that you can take stimulants to supplement water. Stimulants are very dangerous, and I'll just capture some of the myths that regard this. You know, in the world today, we have a clear face against the intake of cocaine. NACADA and other organizations are very clear about the intake of drugs that we call hard drugs. But there are particular drugs that are taken in large quantities in the world, which, if you do statistics, they are the leading causes of death and they are the leading causes of illness. One is alcohol. Liquor is a drug that has been legalized, isn't it? And people take alcohol in plenty. The second one that has been legalized is smoking, cigarettes. The third one that people don't even think there's a problem because it is barely treated with warning is the intake of stimulants. And that brings me to want to talk about caffeine. You know, in the world today, mental illnesses are rising. People who have schizophrenia, you know schizophrenia, we normally call it the split personality. People who have a mental condition that has been triggered by the fact that depending on the shift in their moods, their behavior patterns can actually switch from violent to very happy or confused. We have psychosis, we have anxiety disorders, we have insomnia. Do you know that most of these things are precipitated by caffeine? Now, my question to you is, how does caffeine work? In the body, we need to realize that caffeine largely is something that people admire and use so much because caffeine is able to bring you an energy boost that is not dependent on calories. You know, when you eat ugali, when you eat sorghum, when you eat millet, the energy boost you get in the body is dependent on an actual glucose that goes into the bloodstream. But caffeine can give you an energy boost that allows you to feel strong and wakeful, but no calories. So people would rather that if I want to feel stronger or I want to appear wakeful, let me just take a cup of coffee. Now the challenge that comes is caffeine interferes with how the body processes what we call neuromodulators. Now in the brain chemistry, we have what we call neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the agency by which the brain is able to communicate and send messages and signals through the nervous system. But within the brain, we have what we call a neuromodulator. One of the key neuromodulators in the brain is what we call adenosine. I don't know if any of us have heard about adenosine. Adenosine is produced by the body to act as a brake. Adenosine is what slows down our brain functioning, allowing us to sleep. And usually adenosine is produced during the day. So the adenosine produced during the day is waiting for activity when? In the evening, because the action of adenosine depends on the circadian rhythm. There's an internal clock in the body that allows us to be able to determine when to sleep, when to wake up, when to eat, when to do everything. Now you need to realize that this adenosine produced is the one that slows down the brain activity. Adenosine is the one that relaxes the muscles. Meaning for your muscles to become relaxed, for your brain to slow down, for you to feel drowsy and sleepy, you need adenosine. Now, adenosine in the brain is put into the brain to action by some receptors. We call them adenosine receptors. Do you know that caffeine competes with the brain on what is attached to the receptors? So as much as you may have enough adenosine, caffeine will attach to all the receptors of adenosine, allowing no adenosine to attach to the brain. So what does that do? It gives you no ability to slow down. I don't know if I'm making sense. So meaning you are, I don't know if you are driving a car, do you want to brake all the time? No. But do you want to brake when you should brake? Yes. The same way the body, we operate normally during the day, but the way God has made the human body, we are to rest when? When it gets to the night. The action of adenosine is to slow down and break the body system so that we can have ample rest for repair. Caffeine will take the receptors that adenosine should be attached to, and thereby proving a malfunction where? In the brain. So the nervous system is excited and cannot slow down. That is why when you take caffeine or anything having caffeine, you cannot sleep. Caffeine causes wakefulness. It causes insomnia. Because over time, without the break of adenosine, what happens? Generally, you develop a complication where sleep becomes a problem. And that is why all over the world today, insomnia is majorly caused by caffeine. Aside from that, we need to realize that the caffeine also, to a large degree, because of the effect on adenosine, caffeine causes the kidneys to produce something we call cortisol. I don't know if you've heard of cortisol. Because you're wakeful for so long and you appear stressful, cortisol being produced in the body, cortisol triggers the blood vessels to become constricted. That is why people who take a lot of caffeine have a cold hands and feet syndrome. Why are they having cold hands and feet? Because the blood vessels that go to the extremities are constricting all the time under the influence of cortisol that caffeine has made the body trigger. So at the end of the day, caffeine causes hypertension. What happens when you constrict blood vessels? Blood flows with a faster pace. So usually the intake of coffee has been linked to high blood pressure, because it causes the blood vessels to constantly become constricted, and blood has to flow there with high pressure. What we call high blood pressure means there is high pressure in the blood vessels. Am I making sense? I want to make sure. So to a large degree, we can say there is a correlation between the intake of caffeine with what? Hypertension. Caffeine also is connected to stress. Research has found that people who take a lot of tea and coffee and have a lot of caffeine as a beverage generally produce a lot of adrenaline. It triggers the kidney to produce a lot of adrenaline, and also epinephrine and norepinephrine. These are stress hormones that bring the body to become, to move from the normal functioning of the body to a sympathetic nerve functioning of the body, meaning at the end of the day, your body is reacting as though you are in danger or you need to fight back. You know, by the way, when do we have adrenaline produced in the body? In two instances, either you are fighting or you are fleeing, isn't it? So can you imagine you making a beverage that causes your body to react as though you are in danger. So you'll have an increased heart rate, that women who take a lot of caffeine develop cysts, if you didn't know that, and also have severe hormonal imbalance because of the interference of caffeine with sleep and the interference of caffeine with stress. Caffeine is also one of the leading causes of anxiety and depression. A lot of people today have anxiety issues purely triggered by intake of coffee and tea, things that are high in caffeine. So we need to realize that that is a key thing. And caffeine also, according to research, has been found to be connected to bladder cancer. By the way, bladder cancer to a large degree has a big correlation to the intake of caffeine. And caffeine also interferes with brain function, causing mental disorders. Because we said caffeine impairs brain function. How? One way is it tends to produce dependence. People who take coffee keep taking coffee. And if they stop taking coffee, they feel abnormal and sick. Why? Because the adenosine that has been produced through the day, the one that caffeine blocked. Remember, caffeine blocked the receptors. Receptors are places in the brain where adenosine can attach and then inflict the slowing down. Are we together? So if caffeine takes all the receptors and the adenosine is lying around in the blood, what will happen when caffeine wears out? Adenosine will come back and fill the places that it had blocked. Being that it is in high numbers, what happens? So that in the morning when you are supposed to be active, you feel tired, sleepy, confused. What do you want? Another dose of coffee to bring you back on ground. So it creates dependence. Number two, it can cause drug withdrawal reactions. So you'll feel like you are actually undergoing some withdrawal symptom like alcohol or cocaine or some stuff. People who have been taking tea for so long cannot go a day without it. Caffeine also causes or worsens psychiatric illnesses, psychosis, bipolar, schizophrenia, epilepsy. Research is showing that epileptic patients who take caffeine and caffeine-related products have more seizures because of that. It impairs physical and mental performance. One author, Mr. White, talks about caffeine being taken in large quantities causing gossip and church trials. But I think it affects our character also. Caffeine can interfere with the unborn child. Most women who drink tea before birth, during pregnancy, either undergo miscarriages frequently, or they have babies born who are underweight or preterm. So caffeine can interfere with pregnancy, low birth weight in infants by caffeine-consuming mothers. Caffeine can also trigger ulcers, heartburn, and ulcers that is irreparable because caffeine interferes with how the body repairs the DNA. Caffeine is also linked with cancers, like I said. Caffeine will increase PMS. What is PMS? Premenstrual what? Yeah, so women who are having serious PMS issues, caffeine will magnify it for you. But remember, this is a beverage that people take every day. I would rather we take water. Are we together? And remember that the cousin of caffeine is theobromine. Theobromine is found in chocolate, it's found in cocoa, it's found in most of these products. Theobromine is a sister or a brother to caffeine. And theobromine is a carcinogen. Just 20 milligrams of theobromine in the body can trigger carcinogenic effects that cause cancer in the body. And that is why I've been telling people, as we talk about water today, I would rather we understand that taking uji and some of these other beverages, some of these other things than going to beverages is safer, but stick to water for thirst. Give up the soda, give up the energy drink, give up most of the beverages. If possible, like we've been learning, do a heavy breakfast. Avoid the idea of drinking breakfast and move into eating breakfast so that you take water for your needs in terms of hydration. So generally, caffeine is causing frontal lobe problems, making the population go mad, causing people to have psychological problems, anxiety, and also pressure, and also causing changes relating to cancer and so many things. So ideally, what I'm saying this evening is you can give up tea and coffee, and you can take more water. It takes only 13 days for caffeine to wean off in the body. They may be difficult 13 days, but once the 13 days are over, the withdrawal effect of tea and coffee is usually done what? Yeah, done away with. So you'll suffer for those 13 days, the withdrawal symptoms, just take more water, be calm, but over time, you'll find a way of getting through. I want us to do a word of prayer to close that session. Heavenly Father, we thank you for having spoken to us this evening. We pray that may you guide us in our life choices regarding diet so that we may live healthy for you, that your spirit may be able to talk to us through our minds and we can hear, that you may have a working staff of men and women who are strong, who can carry the message and the gospel all over the world. And above all, Lord, primarily because you bought us with a price and you created us. We thank you for having heard our prayer. For this we ask in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen.